the launch of the National Digital Payments Strategy, as well as Ethiopia, in my view, will accelerate the ability of Ethiopia to take advantage of this market of 1.4 billion people with a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion US dollars. Governor, I was very inspired by your vision because it aligns with the AfCFTA and what the heads of states of the African Union, the Assembly of Heads of States and Government of the African Union directed us to do. And what struck me in particular, Governor, about your statement and your vision, first, establishing a payments platform, a payment system that is modern, efficient, and cost-effective. Second, establishing and deploying that technology to enable a very important imperative, and that is digital and financial inclusion. Inclusion of informal traders, inclusion of smallholder farmers, inclusion of SMEs that are led by young people and women. This must be the driving imperative of any digitization of payments initiative that we as a continent undertake, and so we congratulate Ethiopia for this milestone today. The cost of currency convertibility in our continent, we estimate it to be over $5 billion annually. $5 billion for us as Africans to trade. We're over-reliant on third currencies for intra-Africa trade. And so this $5 billion that all of us pay annually to trade translates into competitiveness of our SMEs forgone, jobs of informal traders forgone, opportunities for young people forgone, because we deploy $5 billion annually to trade amongst ourselves as Africans. Therefore, the initiative that you have launched today, in my view, shall enable the payment sovereignty of our continent. There is no reason why our continent should rely on third currencies for intra-Africa trade. And so I congratulate you for having taken this very important step to deliver on a long-standing ambition of our founding mothers and fathers here in this historic city of Addis Ababa in May 1963, when they said the continent of Africa must have a single currency, must have a single payments system. That was in May 1963. And in response to that challenge, the African Union, under the leadership of our heads of states and government, directed the ministers of trade to develop a legal instrument that will enable us to finally deliver on this vision of May 1963 of a single payment system in Africa. And so today we have the AfCFTA protocol on digital trade. Amongst other provisions, it has two very important provisions that I believe are relevant to the conference today. First, it establishes a regulatory environment for seamless, cost-effective, affordable, accessible payments across the continent. And this regulatory environment should enable technology-neutral, player-neutral participation in investments on private infrastructure for interoperable payment systems in Africa. The second important feature of the Protocol on Digital Trade is the enabling of movement of data across the African continent, to the extent that the data is for commercial purposes. These two developments that are embedded in the protocol are the first of their kind around the world, where a continent of 1.4 billion people establishes a single digital market, not just for payments, but for Africa's digital economy, which of course shall be powered by an interoperable, affordable payment system that enables and puts at the fore our informal traders, our smallholder farmers, so that they too can be drivers of Africa's economy. So what we launched today, the strategy, shall strengthen Ethiopia's competitiveness, as I noted earlier, expand opportunities for young people and SMEs. In a very short space of time, Ethiopia has built a digital finance ecosystem that is capable of serving millions of people. It is well known and well positioned to connect beyond its borders and plug directly into the AfCFTA's digital payment system. Through this progress, we are creating and establishing the infrastructure that is required for our businesses to make full use of digital payments for trade across our continent. More importantly, prioritizing interoperability of payment systems as well as seamlessness of payment systems, I believe, will anchor Ethiopia's role in regional and continental value chains. And the strategy as laid out and adopted this morning sets that out quite clearly. A single African market cannot function without a payment system that is efficient, secure, and interoperable. For our SMEs, the majority of whom are women and young people, digital payments is not merely a matter of convenience. It is a point of contribution to Africa's overall economic activity, creating jobs for themselves, as well as driving the industrial development of our continent. And so the goal of the AfCFTA and the goal of our heads of states is quite simple. It is for SMEs not only in Addis Ababa, but across our continent to receive payments in local currency without having to resort to a third currency. We must enable a young entrepreneur here in Addis Ababa to make a payment in Ethiopian birr to their counterparty in Ghana, who will receive Ghanaian cedi without having to resort to a third currency. For small-scale young traders to be able to transact across the borders of their countries is the vision of the AfCFTA. Technology, innovation, what we've seen being launched today absolutely enables this ambition. And in this regard, and in their wisdom, our heads of states adopted the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System and endorsed it as Africa's infrastructure for payments. The Protocol on Digital Trade enables any player to invest in infrastructure to provide liquidity for the settlements and the payments to happen. And so I congratulate AfrEximbank for their leadership, for investing over $3 billion in liquidity and over $500 million in the technology that enables a continental payments platform that will be cost-effective, interoperable, and enable payments across our continent. And so I conclude, again, with a word of congratulation, that what we have achieved today and over the next few years is not an achievement just for Ethiopia. it is a step in the direction of a truly integrated, single digital market in our continent. What we have achieved today and shall achieve through its implementation, that is the strategy, resonates with the vision of the Assembly of Heads of States and Government of the African Union, and of course, it is a response to the long-standing ambition of a single payments platform in Africa. And so I thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you, and I look forward to collaborating with you in the implementation of this strategy.